The look on her face when she walked in through my classroom door, she looked worried, she looked disappointed, she looked stressed out, and I looked at her straight in the eye and I said, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new to my channel, I am Sarah, the teacher behind It's a Teacher's Life by Sarah O. As you can see from today's video title, I am going to do a collaboration with the beautiful Jessica, also known as a classroom diva. I am super excited to have this opportunity to do this video with her. We've actually been following each other for a while now, so we decided to come together to share our experiences in our first year of teaching. Every teacher's experience is unique, and we thought we'd share our story with you. Before I get started, I wanted to tell you that in the description box down below, I will leave a direct link to the video that she will be posting on the same topic, and I will also link her channel down below. Also, leave her a comment letting her know that I sent you. What I love about Jessica's channel is that she has a little bit of everything regarding teaching. She does unboxing videos, she shares her fashion tips, meal prep videos, she does vlogs, and she shares her wonderful ideas throughout. So definitely go check her out. Also, before I get started, I will have timestamps down below in the description box, so if there's any particular topic you want to fast forward to, feel free to go ahead and do so. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start off by sharing the interview process. Now, my entire interview story is a story in and of itself, and I can definitely share that story with you in another video, but I'm just going to focus on the interview at the school where I actually started teaching. So in that interview, there was the principal and the assistant principal. The reason why I was able to interview with them was because I had previously done my interview with human resources for the county. That interview had gone so well that the interviewer said that she had a school that she thought I would be perfect for. The principal ended up calling me the following day and we scheduled an interview. Now, going into the interview, I already knew that they were looking for a 4th and 5th grade combination teacher who was going to teach reading language arts. Now, that was completely different from what I had anticipated. My student teaching experience was with 1st grade, and 4th and 5th grade was definitely like a big jump for me, but I was really desperate for a job, and it was coming down to the wire, and I really didn't think anything else would pop up, so I decided to go for the interview. So when I think back to the day of the interview, I remember how nervous I was feeling. It kind of helped that my sister worked at the school previously. She wasn't working there at the time that I interviewed. So she gave me a little bit of insight into the school and who the principal was. So I felt a little bit of ease in that sense. But naturally, I was still really nervous for interviewing for what would be the first job of my career. Anyway, I walked into the interview room with my big old Sony Vail chunky laptop and my red portfolio and my red, my Padfolio for notes. And I remember just being so nervous with the first question that they asked me. But once I answered the first question, I really started to get a little more comfortable. But I know that what helped me get through that interview and to answer the questions effectively was the fact that I had such a great student teaching experience and that my mentor teacher really prepped me for those questions. The only thing was that at the very end, the principal asked me a very random question, and she asked me if I had any coordinating experience. And to be honest, I didn't want to say no. So the only thing that I could come up with was the fact that I coordinated a family event at the daycare where I was working. But that was definitely not the kind of experience she was talking about, but at least I didn't say no. After the interview, they told me that they would get back to me, and they did the following day, and they offered me the position at the school, and I was super excited. The only thing that was really worrying me was the fact that it was part-time, so I was only going to be working 4 hours instead of 8 hours. Like I said, I didn't know if anything else would come up, so I accepted the position. When I think about my first year of teaching, I know that I was at an advantage because I was only part-time. So my schedule was I would walk in to work at 12:30, and I had prep time from 12:30 to 1:30, and then I would teach from 1:30 to about 3:15. And then the kids would start packing up at 3:15 to be dismissed at 3:25, and then I would clock out at 4. Now, because it was my first year, I would actually stay behind. But I remember, like, I would sleep in and I would take my time getting ready, and that was really nice. And then I would, like, plan and prep in the evenings. The one thing I didn't like about that was that meant I had a little bit of time with those students to cover multiple reading groups as well as writing. And if there was anything that had gone unfinished, I couldn't pick up the following morning because they were with the other teacher. I would have to use up my other afternoon to try and like finish it, and I would kind of like get backed up in a way. So I really didn't like that schedule because of that. Days leading up to pre-service week, the principal ended up asking me if she could send my number to my partner teacher. So my partner teacher ended up calling me and introducing herself, and she expressed how excited she was to have me on board and how like she really was going to love her new schedule because now she was just going to focus on math, science, and social studies to 4th and 5th grade as well as to 3rd grade. She really didn't want to teach reading language arts, and the principal was able to kind of accommodate that for her by bringing me on board. So she got lucky in that sense. But anyway, because we were able to talk before pre-service week, I kind of felt comfortable in my first day knowing that there was someone I could go to. I appreciate the fact that she took it upon herself to introduce me to anyone and everyone who we crossed paths with, because otherwise I don't think I would have done that myself as a newbie. So now that we're in pre-service week, we were given our schedule. We knew that we were going to have some time to prep in our classrooms, and the rest of the time was going to be devoted to meetings, to staff meetings. I remember at the first staff meeting, the principal was introducing all the new teachers, and I was actually the only brand new teacher at the school. All the other new teachers had been teachers at other schools, but I was like literally fresh out of college, and I was the only one. But anyways, when she came around to me, I remember that she introduced me as my sister's little sister. When she mentioned who my sister was, like everyone like was smiling, and they were like really excited to have me on board, and they were just so sweet and so supportive. They would come up to me and they would say, "Oh my gosh, you look just like her," or "You sound just like her." And to be honest, I really appreciated the fact that my sister left on a good note and that everyone had really good things to say about her. So it really made me feel comfortable knowing that that was the case. Now, with that said, a lot of teachers, because they came up to me and, they wanted to know how my sister was doing, they also told me, like, if I needed anything, that I could always, like, ask them for help, and they would tell me what rooms they were in so that I could find them. And to be honest, like, I had an overwhelming amount of support as a first-year teacher, but to be honest, it was overwhelming to the point where I didn't even know where to start. I didn't know who to look for and for what, and I didn't even know what questions to ask. My partner teacher like took the initiative to try and help me, but she had such a completely different style, and we had two completely different personalities. So, to be honest, like I was just feeling so overwhelmed with the amount of help that I was getting from every single person. One of the biggest concerns that I had during pre-service week, and something that was really stressing me out, was the fact that I was sharing a classroom with my partner teacher, and that had been her classroom the year before. So she had a lot of things already set up, but there was still a lot of work to do, like setting up the tables and putting things up on walls. Some of that stuff still had to get taken care of, and in the process there was a really big mess. And I know that one of her projects was to clean out her closet, because the closet had become so unorganized throughout the years, even before she was given that classroom, and she decided to start cleaning it up during pre-service week. And I was all for it, and I was supportive of it, up until the point where I realized that open house was right around the corner. Now, open house is what we call the day where we meet our students as well as our parents, and the principal said that our classrooms had to be set up prior to open house. So the day was quickly approaching, and I would look around and the classroom was still disorganized and not set up. And to be honest, like, she told me that if there was any idea that I had, or if there was something that I wanted to do, that I could feel free to do that. But I didn't feel comfortable doing that because it wasn't my own classroom. Our styles were completely different, and I didn't know what I wanted to do on top of everything that was already there, like everything that she had already set up. So I really didn't even have a starting point. And something about me is I can't move on to the next step until step one is complete. So for me, that meant if the classroom was unorganized and it wasn't set up, there was no way that I could even think of instruction and implementing instruction for the first week of school. But that was weighing on me. I was like, oh my goodness, the first week of school is in a few days, and I don't know what I'm going to do, but I don't even know how this classroom is going to look. So I was really, really worried. The day before open house, that's the day that I meet my consulting teacher. And a consulting teacher is assigned to every brand new teacher. And the look on her face when she walked in through my classroom door went from like a smile to like a frown. Her face said everything that I had been thinking. Like, she looked worried, she looked disappointed, she looked stressed out, all in that few seconds of her walking into the classroom door. She sat down and we introduced ourselves, and she asked me, "So, how do you feel about your first week of school?" And I looked at her straight in the eye and I said, "I don't know what I'm gonna do." The look on her face was so unsettling. Rather than giving me peace of mind, she looked more stressed out than me, and she started scrambling through like some papers and things, and she just didn't know what to tell me. Now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure that it was her first year as a consulting teacher, because she didn't have any advice to give me. Like, I could tell she didn't know how to handle my situation. I don't know what ended up happening behind the scenes. All I know is that the following day I was introduced to a new consulting teacher, which was to my benefit, because there was just something about her that made me feel so comfortable and so at ease. Like, she seemed very assertive, like she knew what she was doing. She was so positive. She heard me out. And she ended up handing me a flash drive, and she said, "I have a few resources that you can start using. I have behavior management charts, I have graphic organizers and worksheets for activities for each subject." And I'm telling you, like, it was so helpful to kind of see what kinds of things I needed and what kinds of things I would be working with. She ended up sitting down with me for a few minutes and briefly going over what it is I had to do. So she really kind of gave me a jump start. She didn't sit and plan with me, and she didn't tell me how I was going to do things and what I had to do. And by the time she left, I felt so confident and so comfortable. Even though the room was still not set up, I just felt so much better. At any rate, once she left, because I just was feeling this air of confidence, I ended up starting to like go around the room, and I just started to hide things and throw things in the trash to make the room at least look neat, even though it wasn't set up. But by the time the parents came in, my partner teacher and I had pretty much like finished setting up the classroom. And it was interesting because during open house, once the parents found out that I was in my first year of teaching, they stopped asking me questions and they directed their questions to my partner teacher, which ended up working out for me because I was able to listen in on the conversation, and I would pick up on buzzwords and certain things that my partner teacher was saying that I was able to then tell the other parents who were coming in. So that ended up working out really well, and it was a great experience. I will say that after, going through all that stress and feeling very overwhelmed and unprepared, I was completely feeling confident and comfortable for my first day of school as well as my first week of school. I was able to really sit down and plan and use all the resources from my mentor teacher and the consulting teacher and my partner teacher, and I think what helped was knowing that my classroom was set up. Once that was done, I was able to just really focus and hone in on my instruction and what it is I was going to do and how I was going to do it. I ended up having a really good first day of school and a really good first week of school. So that was a close call. I remember on the first day of school, I had my first informal, in a way, the principal walked in and she was watching me at work with the students, and my partner teacher was there, also observing me, even though she didn't have to. And then my mentor teacher walked in. So from day one, I was already being observed, which, I was perfectly fine with. No, I wasn't. I guess I kind of expected it. Now that year I had a class of about 21 students. 12 of them were in 4th grade and the rest of them were in 5th grade. And it was a very interesting dynamic having both grades at the same time and being a first year teacher. First of all, I feel like they really loved me because I was the young spirit, and I guess they could connect with me a little more. The 4th graders were so adorable, I guess because they were the younger of the group, and they were just so funny. Every day they would make me laugh. My 5th graders, though, those kids were so strong-willed and they hated each other's guts, and it didn't help that they had looped with each other since kindergarten. So you could tell that by the end of their elementary school careers, they were fed up of each other's faces. So I had to deal with that in my first year, and that was kind of where my behavior management sucked, with like dealing with their issues in class, like during instruction. And I remember my consulting teacher also saying that I had to work on like proximity control and not staying at the front of the classroom all the time, because I was starting to become unaware of all the students who weren't focused on my lesson, or who were off task. And even in like my guided instruction, she said that I would focus only on the students in front of me, and I wouldn't really pay mind to the students who were like supposedly working on their stations or independent work, which is definitely true, and which is definitely something that I am more attentive to now. Another thing that I remember about having to deal with 2 grade levels was that I had to juggle 2 curriculums. So even though my mentor teacher, who was a reading focus teacher, had outlined the entire year for 3rd through 5th grade teachers, I still had to kind of figure out how to, how to integrate objectives from both curriculums to fit the needs of both students. And I did have heterogeneous reading groups, so 4th and 5th graders were mixed in together in my reading groups. But 5th graders I needed to cover their objectives with them, and then the 4th graders, I needed to cover their objectives with them. And sometimes I would just kind of separate them by grade levels. And it was kind of like a thing where I was playing it by ear, because I didn't have a model for it, and my mentor teacher said that that was something she was unfamiliar with. It's kind of up to me how I like worked with the students and how I integrated both of those curriculums. But that was definitely a pain in my behind. The other thing I hated was the fact that because they were upper grades, they had instrumental music time. And so there were just a bunch of pullouts. And the fact that I had them for 2 hours and I was losing them for like half an hour at a time, and like the first half of the hour was losing kid A, B, C, and then the other second half of the hour I was losing kid D, E, and F, and there was never a time where I could have my class together so I could do what I had planned to do with them. It was so aggravating. But that's really typical of upper grades, like once you're doing like instrumental music. Overall, even though I had a very rocky start, I had a very good first year, and I feel like all the support that I was given had everything to do with it. I worked with a wonderful set of colleagues, and my consulting teacher was the best. The kids that I had, they were also a very good group to have as a first year teacher. Whenever I was stressed out or frustrated by my 5th graders, my 4th graders ended up being like my comic relief. I really appreciated the fact that I was able to see like my first set of 5th grade students at their promotion ceremony, and I felt really honored to be able to walk down the aisle with them and know that somehow, in a little way, I contributed to the reason why, they were being promoted to middle school. And that was such a nice feeling to have as a first year teacher. And I never got to do it again because I never taught 5th grade again. Because I was part-time and it was the end of the school year at this point, my position was on the line. So basically what that means is that I wasn't guaranteed to have the same position for the next school year. So what ended up happening was the principal decided to split the 4th, 5th grade combination for the upcoming school year. And my partner teacher ended up with 5th grade and I ended up with 4th grade, which meant that I was going to be teaching half day in Spanish and half day in English. Math, science, and social studies would be in Spanish, and reading language arts would be in English. And it totally worked out for me, and obviously I accepted the position because it was full-time, and I had already worked in the school and I was familiar with the staff and I really liked it there, so I ended up accepting that position. After that year, however, I did switch over to English Academy, but that's a whole nother story. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more videos. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!
Please comment down below and don't forget to click the subscribe button.